Okay, what we're going to try now is we're going to try to find a missing side of a right triangle. And I bet most of you remember this from geometry. And it's also on the ACT, so it's something really to pay attention to. Of a right triangle. That's my abbreviation for right today. So we're going to find the missing side of a right triangle. And then start with a right triangle. And I'm going to say this angle up here is 35 degrees. The hypotenuse is 7, and this side over here is x. And I want you to find x. You got to think about what you have. You have an angle, you have a hypotenuse, and you have a side. Now, how are those three related? Well, this side kind of determines which trig function you're going to use. In relationship to this 35, this side is adjacent. And this, 7, is the hypotenuse. So adjacent, hypotenuse in your brain should pop up cosine. So from what we've been working on, the cosine of some angle, well, the angle I want to use is 35, equals the adjacent, x over 7. How do I solve that algebraically? You have to multiply 7 times the cosine of 35, and that gives you, we'll just go to the nearest tenth, 5.7 for x. And then I want you, every time you solve one of these, to think, is this a good answer? Yes, it's a good answer, because it should be smaller than 7. If you get something bigger than 7, that doesn't work. The hypotenuse is always, always, always the biggest side of a right triangle. Let's try one more. Let's try a right triangle over here. And let's say this is 40 degrees, this is 8, and this is 5. Well, now what am I given? I gave you 8 and 5. That's not going to work. We don't know that that's 5. I'm just making up stuff as I go, I guess. Let's call this side x, not 5, because we're trying to find a missing side. So now I have a 40-degree angle, I have 8, and I have x. And remember, the key to getting these right is knowing how these three pieces of information are related. 8 is opposite of 40, x is adjacent. Do we have a trig function that's opposite over adjacent? Yes, we do. It's called the tangent. So the tangent of my angle, 40, is equal to 8 over x. Now the algebra on this one's a little bit trickier, but everybody should be able to do that. If I multiply by x, I get x tangent 40 equals 8. And remember, I want x by itself, so x is going to be equal to 8 over the tangent of 40 degrees. And get your calculators out. And I'm going to put that in right now. 8 divided by tan 40. And I get 9.5. I'm going to the nearest tenth. This is 9.5. Is that reasonable? This one's a little bit harder to tell. But remember, if this angle's 40 and this one's 90, this angle has to be 50. So this side should just be a little bit bigger than 8, which it is. So it's reasonable. And I know you guys remember how to do these from geometry. And like I said, they're on the ACT. It's something you really, really need to know, and it should be a quick, easy question on the ACT. Now, what about a word problem with these? Because they happen. And my word problem's a little small, but that's okay. We can make it work. It says, on a college campus, the library is 80 yards due east of the dormitory, and the recreation center is due north of the library. So here's the library, here's the dormitory, here's the rec center. So we know that the library is 80 yards due east. 80 yards. And that the rec center is directly north of the library. We don't know how far. The college is constructing a sidewalk from the dormitory to the rec center. So from here to here. The sidewalk will be at a 56-degree angle with the current sidewalk between the dormitory and the library. So between, so that's right there. To the nearest yard, how long will the new sidewalk be? So how long will the new sidewalk be? I'm not looking for this. I want the new sidewalk, so I'm going to call that X. Okay, how are those three related? Side, angle, side. That's going to be this side here is the hypotenuse. So this is going to be a cosine because 80 is adjacent to 56 and X is the hypotenuse. So the cosine of 56 degrees, that's my angle, equals 80 over X. Remember, it's adjacent over hypotenuse. Do your multiplying. X cosine of 58 equals 80. So X equals 80 over the cosine of 56. 80 divided by the cosine of 56 degrees is 100. We're going to go to the nearest tenth again. 143.1, that would be yards, because this is a word problem, we should label it. And once again, reasonable, yes. It should be bigger than 80, because X is the hypotenuse, and the hypotenuse is the biggest side. Okay, we'll try some in a minute. That we have all the sides, and we have to find an angle. So it's working backwards. See you next time.